One of my favorite additions to Xenoblade 3 are the hero characters. I love the idea of optional party members. Xenoblade X actually had something similar, where certain characters would join you only after you did their side quests. Both games handled this differently, in better and worse ways when compared to each other. Xenoblade X had them actually playable, which, you know, would have been nice to have in 3, but as a trade-off, all the hero characters feel much more distinct. They all come with different classes, which fill different combat roles, and have unique effects during chain attacks. There are also a lot of them, which is great, as almost everyone will have different stories on who they got and who they used throughout the game. So today I'm gonna share my experiences, by making a top 5 of my favorite hero characters. Now, you may be wondering, is this list based on how good the heroes are in gameplay, or how likable they are as characters? And the answer is yes. I want to make clear that this is a top 5 of my favorites, and not a tier list. I also want to give a spoiler warning, because I will talk about some major story events up until the beginning of chapter 5. If you haven't made it to the big new area of that chapter, I wouldn't risk watching any more of this video. But with that said, here is my top 5 hero characters from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Starting off, we have one of the many hero characters that were revealed before the game got released. My boy, Valdi. So, fun story, I actually did not expect to like him at all. Usually, younger characters in video games are very hit or miss for me. I either end up thinking they're really adorable or really annoying. Honestly, I thought he'd fall in that second camp based on the game previews, but I quickly warmed up to Valdi throughout his hero quest. I really liked his dynamic with Lance and Riku. Plus, let's be honest here, we all shed some tears at the death of Mecha Friend. Truly the saddest moment in this game. In terms of gameplay, however, Valdi is a bit of a weird case for me. Let's start with the positives. He's a healer, which in my opinion is the best class a hero character can be. In terms of damage, they're almost always outmatched by the Ouroboros characters anyway, but you can never go wrong with some more healing or an extra person to revive your fallen party members. His chain order can also be pretty nice in the early game, but it's as good as useless later on. And that's pretty much my entire experience with him. Valdi was really useful in the early game since he was one of my best healers, but he fell off pretty badly later on. He does have a good niche against machine enemies however. One of his arts deals bonus damage against them and lowers their attack stats, which is really good for support. On top of that, his hero chain gives him 50 TP against machines, which can easily give you bravos and amazings. So yeah, Valdi is a good boy, I like his personality, and he can still shine in certain situations. So I'll gladly put him on my number 5 spot. Something great about the Xenoblade games is just how many surprises there can be on a first playthrough. These can be something big like unexpected deaths, or even something as small as certain characters joining your party. And the hero character that had the most of these surprises for me was definitely Ethel. Pre-release I knew there was a possibility that she would join our party, but I was very surprised when she turned out to be the first hero character you get. I was then even more surprised that your first hero character actually dies in the story. She and especially Kamuravi went out like champs though, leaving a big impact on me as well as the main party. Ethel definitely became one of my favorite side characters, even with her limited time in the story. Gameplay wise though, she can be really powerful, but only in the right conditions. First a little heads up if anyone wants to use her, her smash art is really powerful, but can also work against you if you want to keep an enemy launched during a chain attack. Not too hard to take into account, but it does make me wish we could control the hero characters ourselves. But speaking of chain attacks, I think she can be better than people give her credit for in those. Her hero effect can seem pretty underwhelming at first, but because of it, her TP can get really high after just one round. In the right circumstances, this can help you to easily get a Bravo in the first round, which will also give you at least one character with high TP back. This is even easier to achieve in her own chain order, which can be good to use at the beginning of chain attacks since it increases the overall damage ratio. Ethel definitely has her uses, but as expected of the first hero character, she does get outclassed in terms of usefulness or consistency by some later characters. Still, she's fun to have in your party from time to time, and especially because of her role in the story, she more than deserved a spot on my top 5. Usually, I'm not too concerned with tier lists when it comes to any game actually. I tend to stick with my favorites since playing with them just makes me the happiest. And if they actually happen to be one of the best characters, then, you know, I wouldn't complain. So yeah, number 3 is Fiona. She gives you the Signifer class, which if you didn't know, is one of the best classes in the game. She's classified as a healer, so she can revive allies, which is always nice. But she doesn't have much in terms of recovering health, and instead specializes in buffing allies. The amount of buffs she can quickly give your party is insane. And if you combine this with more party members in her class, you can easily break the game. Moving on to her chain attack effects, her heroic chain just gives the remaining characters more TP, which is decent I guess, though I never found it too useful. Her completion bonus, however, is in theory really good, but in practice I find it a bit situational. You will need some luck with getting her order to show up at a good time, as well as some good planning so the chain attack doesn't end prematurely. If the stars do line up, however, you can do stuff like this. That's pretty nice. All in all, Fiona is kind of the opposite of Valdi and Ethel for me, in a sense that she's mostly so high up because of her gameplay benefits. But to be clear, I still think she's a really likable character on top of that. I ended up getting really invested during her hero quest, and outside of that she has some really endearing interactions with the main cast. But yeah, I don't mind her being so useful on top of that. I actually surprised myself with how high I put this next character. I didn't expect to put this guy on number 2, but as I mulled it over and tried them out a few more times, I realized I liked Gray way more than I thought I would. Before the game even came out, I already had an interest in him, mostly because his class was ripped straight from Xenoblade X. He managed to keep me interested when I first met him though, as he's in a pretty unique position compared to the other heroes. His origins are left a mystery for the early game, but later you can learn he's a representative from Sword March that can join you way before you actually get there. It's possible to figure this out earlier on, because just like Van Damme, Gray has some wrinkles and an Australian accent. I remember figuring this out earlier on and feeling really smart when I saw him in the city for the first time, but looking back, I guess it was really obvious. That aside, let's talk about Gray's personality. He might not have too many interactions with the other characters, seeing as he's the mysterious and silent type, but I liked seeing him slowly open up. Plus, I always love some awkward character moments. Although, Gray also placed this high because of his utility. His chain order is only good to finish enemies off, but in return, his hero effect is fucking amazing. It increases your damage ratio every time you finish a round with him. This means you can reach the highest possible ratio with him as long as you get him back multiple times. It also helps that his base TP is pretty high, and because his arts last so long, he can get a lot of extra points. There can be problems with him getting the aggro every now and then, but it's honestly a small price to pay. Overall, I just really like Gray's plays in the game. He gave us a glimpse of Sword March, had some nice side quests, and he's a very useful fighter. There is, however, one hero character I like even more. Or, well, maybe more than one, because I want to give an honorable mention to the spoiler people you unlock in the post-game. I won't say who they are, but let's just say that, yeah, I like them a lot, both for their personality and strength. But I excluded them because I wanted to leave some room for the other heroes on this list. Also, if you're from the future and are wondering why any of the DLC heroes after Ino aren't here, it's because they're not out yet. I do love Ino, however, so consider her my unofficial number 6 or 7. But enough stalling, on to number 1. I have the feeling this might not be a popular choice, but my favorite hero is definitely Izzard. I know this might raise some eyebrows, and I'm about to go on a bit of a tangent here, but please stick with me. As far as first impressions go, Izzard didn't do that well for me, especially since both the trailers and his boss fight made him come over like a psychopath hung up over his girlfriend's death. Luckily, that just turned out to be an evil copy. The real Izzard is a really nice guy that treats Taion almost like a son, which I really like to see as Taion was one of my favorite characters. It's actually a bit funny, because I've seen some people that hate their dynamic. From what I've seen, it's because they think the real Izzard might harbor some of the toxic feelings his puppet self had towards Paean. And the thing is, I don't entirely disagree with that last part. I do think some part of him, conscious or not, blames Paean for Nimue's death. However, this just made me respect Izzard even more. It would have been easy for him to use Paean as a scapegoat and to treat him like crap for getting his girl killed. But instead, Izzard has always been very supportive of Paean, because he knows better than anyone just how many regrets he has. I just really like that Izzard stayed so kind despite everything that happened to him, and I loved learning more about him and Nimue in Paean's hero quest. So yeah, that was already a good start. But Izzard's gameplay aspect is where the fun really started for me. So let's just get the samey stuff with Fiona and Valdi out of the way. Healer class good, keeps my party alive, and gives extra revives. Yeah, okay, cool. Now let's talk about how busted he is in chain attacks. His chain order is just a nice mix of Uni and Paean's effects, which were both already really good, but the real cream of the crop is his hero chain. As long as Izzard deals the final blow in a round, you will always get a Bravo rating. This is amazing to get your chain attack started, as it's an easy guarantee to get Izzard and one more character back after the first round. Now, some of you might say his hero chain is basically an inferior version of Ashera's, but have you ever considered that he... Yeah, I have nothing. I just really like him, okay? He's just someone I got really attached to over the game. I warmed up to him pretty quickly after rescuing him, then became extremely impressed by how good he was, and then had him in my party for most of the game from that point. He's a perfect mix of a character I like for both his personality and his use in battles. I couldn't imagine putting anyone other than Izzard on my #1 spot. Thank you very much for watching up until the end. If you think the video deserved it, consider leaving a like or a comment, since it helps out a lot. And feel free to subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future.